Stays onside. Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for banging. Sells!
Hello and welcome to this end of season Gull'S Eye view. There is 7 of us. So usually we struggle to not interrupt each other as 3 or 4, but there's 7 of us today. So, right, we're going to have, 3 parts. First part, we're going to talk about the Bournemouth game, get out of the way. Obviously a disappointing Torquay season. Done so well this season, but ended in defeat, which is, I think we're starting to slowly get over it. And then we're all looking forward to next season. Second, well, we're not over it. I'm not over it. It ruined my birthday. Sorry. Second, we're going to look at the kind of who retained list before it comes out. That awkward type of year when we have to do the traffic light system. Controversial. It caused controversial last year. I'm sure it will this year. And then we're just going to talk about kind of our favourite times of the season and, well, how positive it is looking forward for the football club still. But we're going to start with the Bournemouth defeat. I think we're all in unison, and every Torquay fan, player, staff can all say we got what we deserve. To be honest, Bournemouth were much better on that day. But to start it off, I'm going to give you a bit of beginner's kind of introduction. Johnny Jones, you've been with us for a long time. I'm going to give you the great job with Gull'S Eye View debut. Take us in. Maybe let's just talk about the first half. I know it's harsh, isn't it? Let's just go from like the first half, and from minute one, it wasn't great, was it?
It wasn't, mate. No, it just looked like we were a bit lacking confidence, I think would be how I would describe most of the game really until sort of the 80th minute or something where we sort of just went, yeah, we're gonna go for it and we're gonna really take the game to them. I don't know if that's the way we set up and the sort of the tactics that Paul went for on the day. I think we'll go into that in detail. But yeah, to be honest, we just looked second best, really, didn't we? Didn't really create an awful lot in the first half. I think Hassani had a shot on target, and that was about it. And they knocked on the door. It was quite cagey. And then Hammy produces a really good save, doesn't he, just before half time? And we go in at 0-0, and you think, all right, let's go for it in the second half, but it didn't really materialise. It just seemed like a bit of a wasted opportunity. The whole the whole day, really.
We were
Yeah,
tense, I
Yeah,
thought. If you
yeah.
look at the players' characteristics, they just weren't going forward to get the ball. They were holding back. I think there was a few moments early doors where their wingers just nipped in ahead of our fullbacks. We just weren't on the front foot, and they looked more composed. They looked more confident. They didn't create a lot, but they looked like the team that were going to win the match. For we, yeah, very nervy. It's frustrating, wasn't it? 'Cause he just wanted us to
They
turn
were
up,
just they were
give it
just more
everything.
comfortable on the ball, weren't
They
they?
were, they
We
were.
we we were chasing shadows for a lot of that game. You know, poor Lirakasani, he was like the sole midfielder, wasn't he? You know, it was almost like the Benny Hill show, the way he was chasing around after players instead of just getting stuck in. But you know, give him his credit. I did think he was the one midfielder that you thought was, you know, putting a bit of effort in. And that's not to say that they weren't putting the effort in, but again, chasing shadows, they were quicker, uh, you know, quicker to the ball. Everything about Boreham Wood was so much better than us.
What they did well is their wingers came into central areas and they found them in space there, didn't they? And then their fullbacks bombed on, so they had a nice little interplay and they could create chances from there. Their final ball was crap to start with, but then they started to find it second half. And you could tell that goal was coming, couldn't you? I think the whole crowd could. That point, I would have liked the
Right hand
manager to
side.
change it. I feel like he should have changed it at that point because you could see it coming. And yeah, we just stuck as we were. And, you know, it was a scrappy old goal in the end, wasn't it? But
I agree.
I mean,
Tom, we spoke a lot on this Girls' Eye View about home advantage and how second, third is important. Once again, since this playoff system, I like to see a statistic on it somewhere, but I remember from last year in the South and other leagues, the away teams have done better. I mean, Bournemouth really remind me, when Grimsby went up in the National League a few years ago, just won every game away. I think they beat Wrexham in that run. It just seems actually that you can, like Bournemouth did perfectly, it turned up, kind of frustrate us a bit, and then did what they needed to do. But the away form, yeah, it's weird how it's worked in the playoffs in the end, is it? I feel actually, if you look at us this season, maybe an away tie would have helped us a little bit.
I think it just sums this division up this season, to be
Mm.
frank. Yeah, I mean, I was on another podcast a couple of weeks ago with the other playoff contenders, and we jokingly said before we started recording, well, this is going to be Boreham Wood versus Maidstone final, and that's how it's panned out to be in the end. Yeah, I guess, the disappointment of missing out on the title by a couple of goals. I don't know if lingering for a week was part of maybe why we didn't turn up a little bit. Boreham Wood, they had a chance 3 days later to, they kicked on in their qualifier and came back from 3-1 down with 10 to go against Dorking. So they had the momentum right there, and we all know that the talent and the prowess that Boreham would have got, and arguably they've got the biggest budget in this division by quite a bit. So, and I think you saw that a little bit on Saturday. We were just they were a step above in Frank, and I don't know whether that was because we were so poor for the majority of that game, but okay, that half an hour that we had in the league game at home, where it was just like against the Alamo, wasn't it, for half an hour, and then they got the equaliser right at the last minute. You knew it was going to be a very tight game, and I think my overall riding from it is I'm just disappointed that it took so long for us to really give it a go, because by that time it kind of felt like it was a little bit too late. And when you've got a huge crowd, sellout Playmore pretty much, only a couple hundred fans from Boreham, it's disappointing. And yeah, it does feel like a bit of a wasted opportunity. But again, Boreham Wood, they're the one team I probably wouldn't have wanted to have played in truth. I think we all would have rather have Dorking come down. Yeah, they're still a tough team in itself, but I just think when you compare them, I think you'd rather play Dorking than Boreham Wood. But you know what? Fair play to them. They did the job. They got the goal and saw it out with the 9-10 minutes of injury time at the end. Yeah, it's frustrating, but as I said, I kind of, after the initial reaction of everything at full time, got back, and it was just like, you know what? On reflection, it's been a pretty good season for us. For the summer period, because at the end of the day, I've been saying for a while, playoffs was my remit, whatever happens. So I guess I can't be too disappointed, and I'll let someone else come in because I've got a very unstable internet connection.
For me, looking forward and just moving on from that game, I think we were slightly ahead of schedule. I
Mhm.
do think it was a season too soon, and I do think if we had gone up this season, whatever the recruitment would have been, I do think we were just slightly ahead of schedule. I think the fact that we were top at Christmas, we all had altitude sickness, didn't we? No, not one of us could believe we were where we were. So do you think there was a little bit of a false negative, if you like? You know, the sense of expectation. I just don't think. I'm feeling more positive now because I do think that we were ahead of schedule. I think this season was a dress rehearsal, and that I don't want that to sound glib or what, you know, maybe a little bit. I do think this was a dress rehearsal, and I do think next season is where it's at.
How many times did we discuss it this season? How many games did we actually play really well this season? There's not that many, is there? And that kind of evens out a bit. So considering we were joint toppers.
However, Clive and Chris, I'm bringing Clive first.
Okay.
As much as there's been many positives and all that stuff, and I still feel we can still improve the squad, even though we're not in the National League next season, I think Saturday highlighted, despite all the positives, there was a loss. The areas that we have to improve next season, and that is the bite of the central midfield. I think we allowed Bournemouth too much respect and didn't get into them enough, and a lack of pace to cause them trouble. Would you say that's fair enough, Clive? Would you? How did you find Saturday?
Yeah, I would, Sam. They turned up and we didn't. I mean, that's the bottom line. We had players there, and I'm not going to criticize them, and it doesn't make them bad people, but they froze. They just didn't look as though they knew what to do. Our old friend Mark White, he is capable of a sort of shrewd bit of analysis from time to time, and I listened to him in the week, and he talked about bottleneck leagues. The way the structures are set up, you know, you can only get promoted if you win the league or you win a 6-point playoff. That makes it very difficult. And actually, for all that, maybe, and I'm not convinced about this, but maybe we overachieved a little bit this season. For anybody this summer to be walking around saying it'll be a piece of cake next year, we'll chuck a bit more money at it and we'll win the league in a canter. You're living in dreamland, because Dorking underachieved this season. Maidstone are always fairly strong. Maidenhead, you'd imagine, are going to be fairly decent because they've only just gone down and they've got a wealth of experience in the league above. So I honestly don't want to be, you know, like a doom monger at all. But we blew a massive chance there. We blew a huge opportunity. Didn't matter that we hadn't been that good for parts of the season. We were coming into it on I think it was certainly a 6-game away unbeaten run, wasn't it? Won our last 6 away games. You know, we had to win 2 games of football, and we just didn't get out the starting gate on the first of them, I'm afraid.
Oh, it's a very good point, and I do agree that this, like the football pyramid has done for ages in England, I do feel that this league will continue to get stronger. Look at it 5, 6, 7 years ago to now. I fear, similar to how the National League did. Well, remember when we were at the Blue Square days, you know, like mid-2000s, you'd have 5 or 6 good teams and the rest there'd be quite a drop. It would still be tricky teams, but there'd be a drop. Now you look at it, they're all very well run outfits and there's quite a big gap. I fear the 6th tier will now follow that suit. And you're right, we have to be strong. It can still, you know, work in our favour to get out the division. We'll probably be stronger if we win it next year than we've been this year. Of course, I understand that. We can still improve and there's still loads of positives. But it will be difficult next year. You talk about Maidenhead. We've still got that money from the Max Kilman sell-on. I don't know how much don't know much about the sort of how they sort of run the club and all that stuff. But you know, it will be difficult. And I do believe in football that you have to take that opportunity. It's very easy to be like, oh, there'll be a next year, and there will be because Torquay run brilliantly. But sometimes that first year when there's less quite pressure and expectation is a bit easier, because a bit like 08, 09, if all of a sudden you start like we did then, and look how, you know, it will be difficult. Yeah, I think we do have to hit the ground
running, worry, isn't it?
And believe in ourselves. There's a bit more pressure now next season. Yeah.
Yeah, well, suddenly 2 or 3 seasons become 4 or 5. That's our worry. We don't want to be
Look at
for that.
Oldham. Look at Oldham in the National
Interesting go,
League.
but there you go.
Yeah, it's true. But that being said, there's so much to be positive about, and we have a core this year. And I truly, truly believe in the management team, and I truly, truly believe, well, in the recruitment team. Obviously, that's partly Paul Watson as well. But I truly believe that we'll improve. And they're not. They will improve. They will learn. They are. I know for what's the kind of manager who will look and reflect, and he will think, "Well, I'm going to done me well here, but I can improve a bit myself there, and I can improve my team there." And that's how he has got success, and that's how I truly believe Torquay United will get success, and Paul Watson will get Torquay United that ultimate success. Chris, anything to add over the sign of the playoff game, and then we're going to leave it there and focus going forward because there's so much to be excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I interested in listening to what you say. You kind of very reflective at this stage. I couldn't give a toss whether we'd been good in games, we hadn't dominated teams, whatever, because we had a playoff semi-final that we didn't win, and I think that's the reality of it. I have to say, I mean, I think a lot of the reaction to the game has been a little bit too much. Myself, I didn't think they were significantly better than us. They were the better team on the day, and they deserved to win the game, I think. But if you look at the game in stats terms, they had one shot on target in the first half. They had one shot on target in the second half. So actually, they haven't come and created chance after
They
chance.
definitely had more shots on target than that. Hammond must have made about 5.
Yeah, he made some huge. He's the only player for me that really gets the credit on the day.
The only save he made, the only proper, what you call a save, with that one in the first half when he somehow blocked it on the line. But in terms of an actual save,
yeah,
that was it.
At the end, though. He made
that one where he saved it through a goal.
That was when we were throwing the kitchen sink, though, wasn't it?
I'm talking about in general gameplay. In general game. So you can't. Yes, it was shots on target, but I mean, in general play. And I think the frustration was. I mean, if I was Watton, I'd be disappointed with it. If you look at it tactically, I don't know. I'll go as far as say he was outdone by Garrard. But if you look at it, they played the fullbacks high, which suffocated Young and Jay, and they couldn't get forward. You think the way that Jay and Young have hurt teams in kind of in those kind of pockets either side of the front man, they just didn't get involved. That's Young's most ineffective game since he joined the club.
And I think that was a key man, wasn't he? He was pushing.
It was.
As well.
Yeah. And it's very much, I thought it was very much a modern way of looking at it. In the olden days, if you wanted to defend, you just sat back, didn't you, and kind of hope you could out defend them. Whereas now, they just, you defend high, you push high. I mean, Garrard was saying higher, push them out, and I think that's frustrating. So I mean, I think we didn't deserve to win the game. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We didn't create any chances, did we? That's the reality. But equally, I don't think we got played off the park. They had the two most dangerous attacking players. Abdul Malik and Costa were the most dangerous players in an attacking sense, and they were both excellent.
We need to find a player of that profile next season. Simple as.
Why hasn't he been starting for them? He's not been starting in their games until the last few.
That's mad.
If I can jump in, I was a little bit concerned when I saw the team sheet. Obviously delighted that Dyer was in the team. Great shithousery by Paul Watton there. But Freckeld in the centre. I like Freckeld, but I think there's a time and a place in games like that. And I think in the home games, it's a one-off playoff game. Like, I think
it was a pragmatic choice.
I get the reasoning
from
why.
Manager who probably needs to be more attacking.
It seemed to work in the first half, in the second half it didn't.
I think I would have liked to have seen Musa start personally. Boreham Wood, the dangers they possess, we've said already, but I just think if you're, as the home team especially, just go out there and
believe
and
ask some questions. That's what Musa does.
So I was a little bit disappointed in truth, and I don't want to blame, shoulder blame to anyone, but I think, they didn't turn up. Watton, I don't know, that's been sort of his remit, defensive minded sort of first approach, make us really difficult to break down, but we lose that sort of impetus in the middle, and then we're only winning by one goal in most of the games, which is one of the reasons why we haven't won this division, because we don't seem to create and score enough. I was a little bit disappointed, but it's again proof that as we said,
it's a dilemma, isn't it?
It is a dilemma.
It's a real dilemma because defense does win playoffs, and I don't think anybody was surprised that Musa didn't play on. I
agree with that.
And actually, I think probably most people were all right with it at kickoff time.
Yeah,
it's very, very difficult, and the trouble is that I don't think for Watton it's a case of, on the one hand, we could be really defensively solid and difficult to beat, and on the other hand, we could play a genius who's definitely going to win the game for us. Because Omar Musa ain't that. He's equally likely to give the ball away and find yourself 2 down after 20 minutes. So I understand the selection. I wish he had the courage to chuck him in, but I absolutely understand why he didn't.
Yeah.
That's I think that's very good summing up. Obviously, we're all disappointed, everyone's disappointed, but I think at the end of the day, whether you can't get too high or low in football, and this is obviously an extreme occasion, but the work starts now, really. Looking forward
We
to the
just need
next
some
part.
different types of players, I think, don't we? We've got
Yeah,
some good
and
players who come
I mean,
towards the
there's
ball, take a lot of touches. I think you need some runners off the ball.
a bit
some
more pace, a bit more bite in the central midfield, and we're there, I think.
that will be my criticism about the Boreham game. You were saying about there wasn't enough movement from or Young and Jay weren't really getting the balls through. But where was the movement up front?
Yeah.
They completely shackled Cody Cook. You know, he barely got a look in. He was leaping and but where was the movement in front?
That's where you need some movement beyond
static. Yeah.
No moving the ball left to right. We didn't move the ball left to right enough. Didn't show imagination enough. And that's what I think we need a few more players with imagination, which will take us into our next stage of the sort of. If you're Paul Watson now, obviously this is going to be quite difficult. It's going to be a lot more difficult for me because I'm really attached to this squad. But you have to be brutal in football. We've got our traffic light system. Now, I remember one comment last year, which I actually agree with. If it's an amber, you have to get rid. And I do totally understand that. But so you've got green, definitely keep. Obviously, some will be under contract as well. Amber is it depends on circumstances. Kind of if you've got a better, what you think is a better player, isn't it? Or if they
Ambers are we're not sure.
We're not sure. Yeah, maybe it's mainly greens and reds. You would hope. Right, we're gonna start. Right, number 1, James Hammond. A sea of green and an orange and a red. Right.
Ooh.
I'll start with green, actually. I won't say it on everyone. I'll start with green. The reason I'm green is because I think it's a very solid keeper. If we're gone up, I think we've had to look elsewhere a little bit or have him sort of in competition, a bit like what we did with McDonald and Coughlin years ago. But I think he showed himself in big games. It's very solid. Of course, there's going to be goals. There was dips in form. And I do believe we need a strong number 2 next year, which is hard to sometimes find. Probably an experienced one who's going to sort of compete. But I'll go with that. Right, I'm going to go. So the rest of you went green, apart from Johnny, amber. Tell me why.
Oh, it's actually red, mate. But I think it's shown as
Johnny,
red now. There you go.
But no. This has been brutal. Now this is. I just listened to what I just listened to what you said.
It's a brutal game, Donny. It's a brutal game.
I was thinking, is it a green? But no. For me, he's done brilliant the last couple of months. I think he's been really good, and he's a good goalie. But there's a few games that I can think of, Playmore especially, where just felt like he should have made a save from a long range shot, and we'd have probably got a few more points. So for me, can we get a better goalie? I think we can. So yeah, red.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, Clive.
Clive's falling down the mute trap.
Best way to listen to Clive. That
COVID's back.
I fully agree with Johnny on that. James was our best player on Saturday. He made a really good save first half. But over the season, Weymouth away, St Albans away, there were some goals that I think he should have stopped. How many games did he win for us this year? How many points did he win for us? Peter Shilton, it's the old thing. Peter Shilton would win you 15 points a season. Now, I know Premier League goalies aren't available to us, but I believe we could and should do better, because it just, if you've got a really good keeper as opposed to a decent one, it can make a world of difference.
The best teams generally have the best keepers, don't they?
Yeah, no, totally fair enough. It's nice to have a range of opinions. Also, it'd be boring. Right. Number 2, Finley Krask. What are we going for? Got a range. Got a mix here, actually. Right. Very nice. Here we go. Dom, green. Like me, green.
Yep. I think he did enough this season. I'm not wholly convinced, but he's a pretty cheap local option sort of guy who can cover centre back, full back. I don't necessarily want him in the team every week, but as a squad player, I think he's worth keeping around, and for that reason. And he played really well.
I've got a stat for you.
I've got a stat for you, John. Would you like my first stat?
Yeah, go for it. What you got?
He was one I was thinking about in terms of that, in terms of appearance, because he feels like he's been unavailable quite a lot. 29 appearances this season out of 51 games, so not a long way off par. Is that enough?
I say so, because it wasn't all injury. Those ones who weren't there. I think he's very versatile. We had some brilliant games, local lads, and yeah, right.
I think, can I just say on that one? I think he's the sort of person, and every year it's the same. And it's the same whether you want players to leave, they leave because they choose or whatever. He's the sort of player, for me, I would have, if we signed him, I'd have no issue at all. But are there better players out there? Is there a better version of him that we can attract? Who's going to, let's be honest, Dyer and Drea haven't been challenged. It's not been a case of, he's going to play centre back today at any point. Palmer's played when one of them hasn't been available. The rest of the time, they've just been nailed in. Actually, can you push? Right back, though. Can you bleed more out of, he played at left centre back when we played for 3 for a bit, but actually, do we need another third quality centre back that actually is going to say to Dyer and Drea, right, I'm going to come to your club and I'm going to take your place? I don't know he's that person.
Who had red? Rachel, what did you have?
I think it was orange.
We were all amber.
I was amber's right.
Rachel, you were amber, weren't you? Any other thoughts?
Yeah.
On Krask,
yeah.
A job in National League South defender.
Cool.
He produced a couple of decent games, sort of early part of this year. I don't know. I don't want just average. I'm hoping for a little bit better than that. He's a pretty decent player, but not for me. I don't know. I probably should have gone red, actually. Yeah.
on the fence. Fair enough. That's what we're on. Right. This one will have a bit of bias, and he is under contract, and he is sponsored by TORQUAYTALK. But Jade Folston, it's going to be an ominous green, isn't it? I mean, a few words. Clive,
if we're getting rid of him, then we're getting rid of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, just an outstanding left back. Clive, just sum it up for us this season for him.
Well, we're a much better team when he's playing than when we're not, aren't we? Yeah. He's solid. He doesn't give us an awful lot going forward, to be truthful, but he's a good solid left back, and I like him.
Yeah, I think he's fantastic.
Well, our run of form came in when he came back.
Yeah.
That was no coincidence, was it? So.
36 appearances, because fitness has been an issue for him, hasn't it? 36 appearances.
A couple of
probably more than I would have thought.
Yeah,
that surprised me as well. Yeah, I think
I played 51 games. He's missed
51
because we did struggle with. He
was 34 starts, 2 off the bench. Yeah,
that's all good. No, I think resounding right. Jordan Dyer.
Green.
It's all green. Superb.
Sam Drea
back.
Just get up again. Yeah,
I mean, it's 2 years anyway, but the both of them, they're less as more. It's just they're both absolutely fantastic.
They're the two we're building our team on, basically, aren't they?
Are you selling Drea, or if you get a?
This is the thing. I was about to move to Clive. The thing is, the club, part of the business plan will be to sell money, and as much as we desperately need to keep him for another year. Offers come in,
everyone has a price, don't they? Everyone has a price.
I think he's based them to they're closer, not being irreplaceable at this division, but it's very difficult to recruit as well as that. But it's part of
the deal. Is he on a 3-year deal?
2 year, I'm pretty sure. But it'll be in the back of the minds, and we have to be a sustainable football club. But still, that's down to the fantastic recruitment that we had.
It does, and it does make you wonder, what are some of these clubs doing, doesn't it, really? Because, I was talking to me and my dad was talking on Saturday, you think what? He was in and out of Hampton's team on loan from Peterborough last year. I mean, what are these clubs doing? Because Peterborough as well have got a really good track record, haven't they? Kind of recruiting players in non-league. And it makes you wonder, how is he not playing in the Football League? But more than happy for him to not be.
Yeah, no. Interesting on this one. Do you know what? It's probably the most difficult one for me. There's 2 are quite difficult. Lirak Hassani. Because I really like the player, but there's a resounding amber and red at the moment. Johnny, what do you reckon?
Red, Tommy.
Gonna go red, actually. Brutal. Obviously.
Yeah, this is quite a brutal one for a player who has shown that he is a very capable player at times. I really like his work rate. I really like his ability. However, I think I've said a number of times, consistency, isn't it?
everybody likes him, don't we? But does he make enough impact to keep his
He's
place?
he's a bit
That's the
inconsistent
trouble.
for my liking.
He's a bit
Like,
wishy-washy in the
Yeah,
eye.
It's
he
like
scored-
doesn't
it's
quite
like the
do enough.
lyric in Psycho Killer, isn't it? You're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything, and that for me is lyric.
What are you achieving? Yeah.
He looks busy on the ball, but his standard of passing isn't all that, and I'd like to think we could improve in that area. I really do.
I'd like
I
to see
think-
him be a bit more selfish at times because he hit
Yeah, I
that
think I want
rocket
to see
against
him grab the-
Dorking, didn't he? But
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen him have many shots since. Really.
I wanted to see him. I still think as a player, I think he's a real player, but I just want to see him believe in himself more, is whether it's at
for
Torquay or wherever he goes.
for one good game he had, he'd then have 2, 3 pretty poor ones.
It was more like the
Mediocre.
passing in a game. You'd be like, "What a pass! He's such a good player." The next thing you know, it flies, and it's brutal. We've got to be more consistent. I'm
Yeah.
afraid.
There's no denying his work rate, that's for sure. Like
Yeah.
you can say that for any. There's no denying any player in this team we've had this season about their work rate, but I just think, especially in that midfield area, that's where we've been weakest pretty much all season. So
Yeah,
like
we need a rebuild now. I think
it's harsh. I think it's a harsh one because I do like Lirak, but
You
I
do
do
need
think-
numbers in midfield,
Yeah,
don't we? We probably
we-
need
I
one
think
or
we
two
need
more
numbers, and I
players.
I wouldn't be disappointed if we
Yeah,
re-sign, put it that way. I really like him, but I think for his career, maybe not too sure. I think he's definitely the standard of this division, this tier, but for us, not too sure. I think we need a bit stronger next year.
I would keep one of him or him and Jenkins Davis, but
Yeah.
Jenkins Davis isn't our player, so that might be relevant. But I'd keep one of the two, whichever one
Yeah.
it is.
Cool. Right. Number 8, Jordan Young, under contract anyway. I mean, it's just been resounding success, really.
11 goals, 11 assists, Swanee, I can give you on Jordan Young.
Unbelievable. That was the numbers.
37 appearances.
We talk about the sort of tactics next year going forward. Obviously, you've got Jordan Young on the right-hand side. The big question for next year, when we talk about when we get to him, what do we do with Matt J next year? How do we get the best of Matt J? Because I don't think left wing he is useful there, but I think I would like to say really pacey left winger and then Jordan Young on the other side, and then try and work out the best there. But so we need another Jordan Young on that left-hand side or whatever to match him.
Not
really.
much
It's
to
very hard
ask,
to
is
find.
it?
Yeah.
No, but we need that pace, you know. Right, now number 9, Ben Seymour. I think it will be, fortunately, a resounding Reds this year for Ben. A move that
Although he may be under contract.
we have to check that out. A move that looks
We
so
might be playing against him if he's
a
if
move
he signs
that
from
looks,
Tottenham.
yeah, it looks so good on paper, and I was behind it. Exeter youth, goal scorer, albeit a lot of penalties. Definitely a decent player in there.
He's proven it though. He proved it at Hampton last year.
Yeah.
He's a good player at this level.
Well, he's a good player.
It's
But-
just not
One goal in
working.
14 games.
It just didn't work because a lot of it
He's
was
just so little, isn't he? He's
He was too little for the
little player,
football we
hasn't he?
played, and it just didn't work for him.
There's nothing to him, is there? I mean, he blew over a stiff breeze, doesn't he? He's just like,
I think
it's
that
surprising to see a professional player so little these days.
It's not so much that. I
I
think
think-
it's just we had to
It's
sign
not-
either him or Ash, not
great.
both. I think that's a lot of people said. Clive, anything to add? We'll go to you for
No,
Seymour.
let's move on. We're moving
Yeah.
on. From Seymour.
Yeah, no, I think good luck in the career, Ben. Right, now this
Playoff
one's
winner,
going to be
mate.
this one's gonna be a bit of a difficult one. Now, I never like to be a bore who reads too much into social media posts, but I've been a bore who reads too much.
Yes,
into
you
social media
do.
posts. And there's a little bit.
That's
There's
been
a
your
little
tagline,
bit
isn't
here.
it? I'm sorry.
There's a little bit here where a few of us felt it could be a possible goodbye from number 10 Omar Musa from a few of the posts. It's not our business as such, but what are we going to do for Omar Musa?
Oh,
This is a difficult one. There's a lot of red, there's a green. Mine's kind of amber because of, I think, the post. I don't want to get my hopes up. Right, Clive, we've been big advocates for Moose this year, actually, haven't we?
I'm letting my heart.
And
roll my
me, I
head.
love him.
I'm letting
I
my
do.
heart
I've
roll
loved
my
him.
head, but since he started playing that deep midfield role,
Oh,
I think he was superb there.
mhm.
I would be tempted to see if we can get a tune out of him next season.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I think he's a very talented footballer, and I'd like to see him stay.
I think he's got too much talent to let go. That's my
I do agree.
I'm coming from another direction. I just don't think Paul Watton and him are a good combination as manager
That's the one
player.
with Amber.
So I'm thinking as much about the players as whether he'd be good here. I just don't think it's a right fit, and it could bubble along for a while, and become a problem amongst the squad. So it's difficult, isn't it?
I think
Is it an indictment on the style of play that we have played? This solid in defence and just sort of trying to work through centrally and not really use the channels. That when he does come on the pitch, it lights up the pitch.
We need more players like Musa next year, Rachel. I totally agree with you.
He does have the skill. He is an entertainer. And God bless this squad. I've loved this squad, but we haven't got many entertainers. And is that maybe that's why we have exalted the Moose to Clive and yourself, Sam. We do love him so much because of the style of play that we've been producing. But I like him because he is an entertainer.
I agree. However,
what's the output?
Yes, that's all good move. Tom and Chris, as much as we talk about that, and as much as I love Moose this season, and you look at the numbers
21 starts, 45 appearances,
there's just not enough
2 goals.
There's not enough numbers for player visibility, I'm afraid.
I love Moose. I absolutely adore him, but the games that I've seen, obviously you guys have seen a lot more games than I have this season, but I expect a little bit more from him. I really do. I think he also promised me that we weren't going to be in the playoffs, so that's another reason why I've gone red. But look, he's a lovely character, and I'm sure wherever he goes, he will be successful in this game. Again, I just expect more, and I think before we started the season, didn't we, John? We had the bet. You thought he was going to score 10 goals, and he's got nowhere near, has he?
He's not been in enough positions to do it.
I just feel like he needs a team where it's a bit more built around him, as you said. I think it's just a bit more. He can dictate the tempo of the game, and players will move in freely for him. I think that's not a dig at the style of football we play. This is the style of football we play on the Paws, and that's fine.
It's that word potential.
Successful. Yeah,
it's that word potential. He's definitely got the potential.
I also think the other issue for him, which is the reason why I would consider keeping him. Well, there's 3 things I'd say. One, he's probably not cheap, which will come into it, no doubt, for the output we've had from one season. 2, I think we signed him late, and that didn't help him because I don't think he was fit until about November. Watton made references quite a lot early season that he started on the first day, went off after 55 minutes, and then he was a sub on and off, and he wasn't fit until October, properly fit. Then he had that horrific injury and a tackle against St Albans when he was out for a month, and that set him back fitness wise. So the only positive, what I could say is, get him fit, get him a proper pre-season, and get him hit the ground running next season, and he could be a player who could be massively significant next season. But again, like I say, I reckon the fact he's not cheap will come into it, because I would imagine, think of the fanfare when we signed him, that might come into it as well. And can we get more value for money elsewhere?
Yeah, for a player that's going to fit the system, maybe a little bit more philosophy, produce better numbers, and that's the pay for. That's why I was Amber, because I really like Moose, but it's a difficult one. 11, interesting season for him. Brad Ash, what are we thinking there? Red and Amber, I'll be red as well. You know what? I really like Brad Ash. I really appreciate his work ethic, but it's just time for a change. I think like a Bath City move. Let's go. Much. Johnny, thoughts on Brad Ash?
Yeah, as you say, Sam, I like him. He works really hard. He's a really honest player, but he's just not quite good enough for where we want to be. I think punching for the top of the table. But he'll go somewhere, Bath probably, and
score against us.
Be perfectly fine. Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
I like it. I like him off the ball, but I don't like him when he's on the ball because he takes too long to think about what he's going to do, and he wants to cut in and shoot every time. He hasn't got any other ideas. That's the trouble. It's very one-dimensional. So,
yeah, I agree. Number 13, unlucky for some, and actually, it's not been the luckiest season for this lad. For him, sadly, Matt Wanacott, obviously signed as was the ex-academy and all that stuff, but it's just been a tough season. This is an interesting one because you're not keeping. It's more of a development one, isn't it? It's a bit more of a development one. I'm going to put Amber. I'll say my bet, actually. The reason it's Amber, I really think at this level, you're going to have a number 2 that's going to be a bit younger. But for me, and a bit like Reece, I think he needs, after season's had, needs to get on play some games. So if we could sort of deal, well, we signed him almost as a number 3 and he goes out on loan for a year, I'm happy with that. I haven't seen enough of him to see if he's good enough to where if Hammond got injured, he would suddenly be on the bench. I think the fact that we brought in a lone keeper, just in case, probably shows that.
I agree with that.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
I would also just say, Tony, on the keeper, I was thinking about it when we were talking about Hammond earlier. I like the idea, and Wharton said at the start of last season, he's coming in, he's competition, there's no number 1. No one really thought that was the case. But the reality of it is, a club of our size, in our situation, in our league, we can't afford 2 number 1s. We can't. No. So we're going to have a James Hammond and someone like Matt Wonnacott, and I think he's a local lad. I don't see why we need to change the option personally.
And then you could argue that if Hammond had got injured, then we would just get emergency loan anyway. So it makes sense. Go on, Rachel.
He's obviously got a bit of potential, isn't he?
Well, he had that big move, didn't he, to Wigan?
Yeah.
And we were all thinking, blimey, this is... and there was the murmurings, the usual, did we get a fee sort of thing? But clearly didn't work out there, came back to us. But they saw something, and he's only about 19, isn't he? Or is he?
Yeah, so much potential, but he needs games.
He's still a young lad, but breaking your arm in this
awful luck.
Almost the same area twice in one season. It's pretty bad luck, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, interesting one. Right, number 14 under contract. There could be a potential for a loan on this one. Hadn't quite gone how we started, but Matt Carson, obviously it's a green because he's under contract. Interesting season. Clive, what are your thoughts on Matt Carson this year?
We started like a train, didn't he? Brilliant. Yeah. Of course, we've seen it before when they're playing for good contracts. Sometimes there's a drop off after they get recognised. That's what's happened with Matty. I don't think he's a great defender, but my goodness me, he's a tremendous. Well, he's been a tremendous wing back. I think he's going to become better. He's got a little bit of pace, and my goodness me, he's tremendous. On a dead ball, but he ain't going to get a dead ball because Youngie will be on them. So he's going to have to put his crosses over in open play, but he's too good to get rid of.
Oh, well, I think I'd like to have seen him if we're in a 5-back, a wing back, but if we're playing like 4-3-3 or something like that, or 4-4-2, even more like as a left mid, left winger, I think there could be something there as an option because we never had an out-and-out left foot winger this year, did we?
I think Swanee
on the right.
I think he's a very modern fullback. Fine as a wing back, not good enough in a 4.
Yeah.
It's a shame we couldn't get a curtain shut Folson and Carson, isn't it? Because Folson's ability at defending's very good. Carson's standard quality of crosses in the box were great, weren't they? He's got that side to his game, but he's a little bit frail, isn't he? Defensively.
He's only a young chap, but
Folson, we said this a few times this season, but Folson is still dangerous, from going forward. I still think he has it.
I'm just saying about it's a shame Carson didn't have a bit more of
Folson. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
I think part of that is Folson not being encouraged as well to just, don't worry about what's behind you, just go, I think, as well. That's kind of that's part of that attitude of don't worry about the defensive side is, keep going.
I don't know about him. I don't know if it's just because the games I've went to, I didn't think he particularly impressed. But I think it's odd because he went away, didn't he, on international duty, and then came back and then wasn't really used for the rest of the season, was he?
On the bench.
I don't know. Is he going to be in Watton's plans over the summer? Not sure. He's under contract anyway, so Amber for me because I think there is a player there, but like we've said, defensively, I don't think I particularly want him to be playing in that position. But again, he's got attributes up front.
And he's a kid.
I don't know. I think we can do better personally.
But he's a kid, and he'll get better.
He's a kid, and he'll get better. There's so much potential, and I'd much rather have players like that.
Half and half, isn't it?
Right, yeah. So, you're right. Talk about 15. Talk about young players. We didn't see him at all this year. Jaden Crosby, obviously on a 3-year deal, wasn't it? 2 or 3 year deal. It's going to be a what have you done here, Clive?
It's a green. Sorry, guys.
It's a green. Yeah. It's a green, but for me, it's a yellow to loan him out. All the skill him are going to squads. to be honest. Like,
There's no point in getting rid of him, is there? On
no,
the thought,
I
because
think it's a free hit
got
to
him in.
have a young raw player in your squad,
Try and
especially
bring him
up
through.
front.
Get him to Tivy or
Personally,
something. Give him to
give him
Asa.
to Tiverton. Yeah, I think he needs that solid loan now, doesn't he? Right, Rachel, what are your thoughts?
On Crosby,
Yeah.
I don't know. Just nonplussed,
That's a tough one. At the
We-
he played
we've
3
not- we've not
times.
seen him,
barely
yeah, we've
seen
not
Just
him.
put him
seen
on
I mean,
loan,
he
isn't
gave
it?
us a lot of quips, didn't he, at the start of the season? The Crosby, Stills, and Nash, and all the
That was the highlight, I guess.
Bing Crosby and blah 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 blah. Yeah, just for what I have seen of him, which wasn't too lightweight. Another one, another Ben Seymour, just another lightweight centre forward. I don't know.
I don't think he is.
He's quite a big guy, wasn't he?
I think he's obviously
Was
still
he?
growing, and
Yeah,
he'll
he's a
fill out.
6-footer.
I think he'll end up being a
He needs game
being a
practice.
beast.
Clearly, I haven't seen enough of him then. If he's 6 foot, and I'm thinking he's lightweight.
That was about 7 months ago, though, Rachel.
I think-
It's hard to remember.
Well, he won't have got any shorter though, will he?
I think it's a shame he didn't get a chance to really feature, especially in like the cup games. And I think he was still
Yeah.
with us with the Bishop's Cleeve debacle, wasn't he? I was a bit disappointed he didn't get a chance to start that.
Could have played you up front against Worthing, Swan. It'd have been better, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No, I think again he's one for the future, isn't he? I think see if we can loan him out to a Tivy or something at that level, and then see how he does next season. But obviously he's here for the long haul. Watton obviously sees something in him, so yeah.
Right, 16, Ed Palmer. For me, it is a green as a squad option. It's a resounding green and an amber for Tom, and is that a red and a red for Clive? Green for me. I think obviously localised strong, did well this season when he played. I guess it will suit into the sort of budget thing, continuity. I'm big on continuity this year. Apart from the midfield, I think Ed Palmer's a very good option for the squad and is capable. I'll go to the opposite opinion. Clive?
Well, if you want a really cheap centre back who can edit and kick it, fine. But I thought we were trying to get promoted.
Fair enough. It's fair enough. It's a fair enough point. Right, anything else to add?
It depends what you want. If you want to get someone else who's experienced, like Ed is experienced at this level. If you want to get in someone that's better to probably sit on the bench, this might be a tough ask. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's difficult to get back up to a certain
I think he's done really well this season. I think
You
he's
need
done.
4 centre backs, don't you? You maybe have one better than him.
You'll need another centre back if somebody offers us underground for Dreyer.
Exactly. You need, and Ed Palmer
that is
won't
true.
be started, so you need a top class one. So I think we need to get a top class at this level. You need to get the defender at this level and have Palmer in there as well. And that's your full centre back.
I think if he stays, I'm not bothered. If he goes, I'm not bothered either, to be honest.
And we can all say
I wouldn't have him start. I wouldn't have him starting. I think that's his place at the moment in the team is back up to the centre backs and needed if there's any injuries at the back there.
Right, 17. We're flying through these. Zinzala. We didn't see loads of him, and he did impress at the start. But for me, what are thoughts?
Really not sure on this one.
Red and amber. I think amber's probably more of a fair one. Even my red now looks a bit more like amber with this light, so I could get with it. Johnny, thoughts?
I thought he started well. I really liked him actually in the first few games I saw him, but I don't know. For me, we came a bit short this season with the striking options that we had, and I think we can probably do better.
I always thought he was carrying an
That's the long and
injury.
short of it, really.
Yeah, I felt.
Yeah, I agree. He never looked fit, did he?
No,
Never looked properly fit.
Feel like he's a very hard worker, and I really appreciate his efforts. And as you said, Johnny, you looked really good at the start, but we've already got a Cody Cook,
Exactly.
and I feel like we need like out and out finishers as another option. And I unfortunately don't see Tanzano as that player at the moment from what he showed there. Yes, he wasn't quite fit, but I mean, you look at his goal scoring record, Flied. I just think just a different kind of profile player slightly, and not quite for me. Any other sort of things for that, Chris? Your opinion?
I was just going to say I think he falls into one of my 3 things we need to change for next season categories of actually we need a better option.
Yeah.
We need a plan. We need a plan B, and we need a better option because we ended up flogging Cook 3/4 to death, didn't we, most of the season?
Yeah.
And I think if we signed him, I wouldn't be too bothered. But equally, for the money you'd be paying, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm totally
So
agree.
would you
Right.
have a similar option to Cook or somebody slightly different? What would your
Yeah,
Slightly
well, that
different.
falls into the second thing that I'm looking for. We need a bit of pace. We need
Yeah.
a bit, which is again on Saturday. I was slightly odd. I thought it was odd that Ash came on, not Elisami, because Elisami's big, strong, quick, and it's got to be. He might nick your goal. And I thought he was more of an option to impact a game like that than maybe Ash was. But I just want somebody with a bit of pace. You need someone who can play the Cook role, because I think that was Seymour and Ash's problem. As soon as we were playing one up top, neither of them were going to play because they're not quick enough to play as one of the wide two, and they're not physical enough down the middle. So, I think we need somebody with a bit more physicality, like Cook, but also a pace option as well. So it's kind of,
I think it's
can you
difficult
find
because
that?
you kind of build the team around Cook, and the way you play is based on his abilities, isn't it? So I think it's difficult to put another player in and suddenly play a
Yeah.
different way. So
I
that's
do
a really
understand,
difficult one.
but someone who's kind of a bit in between.
Yeah.
Right. Number 18, Oscar Threlkeld. Bit of a shame this one. I think we can all agree. Unfortunately, didn't quite work. Bear in mind, he probably would have come in as a star player kind of role. It didn't quite work out this season how we thought. Obviously, full respect for him. Always gave it his all, and coming back from two bad injuries. What, 2 games in 2 years he played or something? But I just think, we were looking for like a kind of Asa Hall profile with holding midfielder, really, weren't we? And sadly, he wasn't quite that. Dom, thoughts?
There was concern at the start of the season, I think, because he was probably one of our highest wage earners. He barely played for a while, and it kind of showed, didn't it? And it showed throughout the season. He'd sometimes, do well in halves. He'd win headers. His positional play was pretty good, but his mobility was very low, and also his distribution was generally quite slow, conservative. We'd get the ball, we just couldn't get moving quick enough, and that just held us back because he's pretty pivotal in that role, and that the rest
He
of
didn't
the team.
dictate the tempo enough, did he?
Yeah,
For
that
me,
47 appearances. 47.
yeah, and he played a lot of games in the end, didn't he? But
he's a good. You could tell he's a good player, and he's really.
you can tell he's been a good player.
But he was more of a
good.
right back, am I
He's
right
neat,
in thinking
neat and
a lot of
tidy.
it? Yeah.
But once you lose a bit of that pace and dynamism, he was probably had a bit more of that a couple of years ago. He just hasn't.
You could
got
tell he
that.
was a great player, and he still could do a job. But I just think if you look at where we signed him in our thoughts, I don't know, in that role, I think you've got to dictate the tempo or just be a hard man. And you didn't
That
quite
midfield's
do
very
either.
important,
Just tidy
isn't it?
things up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. Well, didn't he? I expected a bit more from him, to be honest. I know he hasn't played for a long time, but especially as like the captain, as a leader, I just felt like there were other leaders
it
in that
wasn't
team,
much
like Sam
leadership there.
Dreyer. Like, I wouldn't mind if he had the armband next season, to be honest. But I think especially from a wage thing as well, I imagine he's on quite a bit as well at the club. But yeah, that midfield is where we've been lacking pace and that impetus at times in the attack, and it just feels like at times where we should have gone for it. A bit like referring back to what I said earlier about the Boreham Wood game. Just felt like it wasn't quite there when Oscar was in that side. So I think, good luck to him. He's great, done well, but I think I wouldn't
look elsewhere.
I think we can look elsewhere.
Yeah. 19, Cody Cook. I mean,
Move on.
move on. You've done amazing all year. Fantastic goal tally. Needs a bit more support. Would like to see more creative for him. I want to walk off saying he's had 3 or 4 chances a game in some games, but he's just been so good. Go for it.
46 appearances, 19 goals. 39 of those 46 appearances were starts. Bearing in mind that's only 7 league games he hasn't started. That tells you how much we flogged him.
Yeah, and the only time his form dipped a bit was when you could see he was just absolutely shattered, and he come off the bench. I think he was still covered, but yeah, incredible. First name on the team sheet next year, really, alongside the defence.
He is in this league, isn't he?
Yeah, he is in this league.
I think that's quite important.
Yeah. Right, number 20. This is a very difficult one as well. All the central midfield are difficult because they all have their moments. So it's Dan Hayfield. We've got Green, We've got
Green
red.
Ugh.
Going amber.
Yeah.
Green.
5, savage, isn't he?
It is savage. It is
Sorry,
savage.
Dan.
But
If you want to get into the National League, we're going to have to be
yeah,
savage, aren't we?
it's a
Though?
very hard working player. Yeah, some good
49
moments.
appearances, Swanee. 49.
Really good off the ball. Plenty
That's
of
such good
Very
availability,
good
isn't
set
it?
piece
49
merchant as well.
games.
Do you remember that
Yeah.
goal at Tiverton?
Yeah.
Yeah, free
but-
kicks.
His set pieces. Yeah, it's a shame that
He's got-
over the course of the season,
I feel
he
like
wasn't
you've
given
got
more.
to take one of Hassani, Hayfield, and as you said, if it is Jenkins Davis is an option. But you can't take all again. I feel like we just need more bites. We've got to be brutal here.
Well, it's much like Hassani. He should be more selfish in his play.
Yeah.
We've seen him at a few
Impact
great
games more.
shots this season, top corners. I haven't seen him shoot for months. He keeps holding back and passing. He needs to,
He
show
drives
what he's got
forward,
a little
doesn't he?
bit
And you
more.
think, oh, here we go,
Yeah.
and then he'll ping it to Thomas or
He had a great chance to shoot on the weekend, I think, and he passed it up for something else. And he just needs to take responsibility.
I just want to see a bit more swagger, creativity, and belief. And yeah, I'm the man of this midfield. I'm hitting this with 30 yards. I'm clobbering youth, and I want to see more of that in central midfield next year.
Great goal at Chesham.
Yeah, he spanked him.
It's hit from about 25 yards out. Never got more than about 10 inches off the floor. It was a brilliant strike. He does hit a good ball. Great free kick against Truro in the trophy. You can trust him. You know what you're going to get from him. But if you want to build a new midfield, you've got to make some room.
Yeah, and that is where we're at.
Unsung hero in this team. I think he's been. You need legs to play in this team, and he's done that all season. So I would have him with a ball-winning player and a creative player. So
I agree.
I definitely keep him. He's
I
big,
do agree
strong,
with-
physical.
And I think it's a long winter in this league. You play a lot of games. You need those sort of players who can give you that energy.
Yeah, availability is key. I do
That's
agree.
when the league is won or lost, and then it's sort of months.
We'll find out who's right on this one, Clive, won't we?
I think he'll stay. I think he'll stay.
I think he'll stay.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy if he does. My thing is just he wants to be first team. I thought it was really good, but I still want to see him a bit more as we just described.
I think you could
But
build a really good midfield around him.
You could
I really-
indeed, but it's got to be one of all these midfielders. That's why I'm putting them all amber. I
Yeah.
feel like we've got to rebuild it. That's why I'm not jumping to green on any of them. It's all about what's out there as well, because you don't want to weaken the midfield. There's still potential there, but I just want to see a slightly different profile. I do see Hayfield staying though, definitely.
I see more benefit in kind of building it around Hayfield than I do with Hassani per se.
Yeah, he's one of Watton's trusted lieutenants, isn't he? He'll stay. He's gonna get.
Okay. Dean Moxey. Well, this is a player coach thing, really, isn't it? Coaching point of view, well, we don't know how good of a coach he is.
Coaching,
yeah. I'll keep it as a coach. We keep it as a coach. In terms of a player,
He's not going to stay as a player, is he?
But as a player, it's going to be red, isn't it? Because those days are gone. So we can't.
I think
not much comment on that one, really, is there?
I think it's an interesting one though. I think it's an interesting one though, because I really don't know. Do we have the budget for a coach if he's staying? Because as a player coach, there's been value to that, hasn't he? And you see on match days, if he's been coaching the defenders on the training ground, he's done a good job, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But if he, how much of his can we afford to just have him as coach? We've been able to absorb the cost with him playing. Yeah. Would you like to start on D Moxie, Swanee? I can give you that if I can find him. 16 appearances, 4 starts. So, if he's fit enough, do you keep him on as a player for another year? Use him in fits and starts, have him as a coach. Bloke's 40 this year.
He's probably already discussed it, isn't he? With the
he'll know. Yeah, he'll know.
I agree. That's fair enough. Now, 22, he's on loan. It's quite hard to do loan players, but you do feel there's a slight, and his contract is expiring at Plymouth. If the terms and everything was right, would any of you have Will Jenkins Davis? So green, amber. And those are the red. I'll go with green. I think Will Jenkins Davis, I really like him, even though he's young and yes, his form fell off a bit after the loan was extended. He gets stuck in and he isn't afraid to try and dictate the tempo. That's been my problem in central midfield. I just want a few more arrogant and sort of combative midfielders to believe a bit more next year. And I do really like Will Jenkins Davis.
I just think the midfield as a jigsaw puzzle, hasn't quite, has it? This
No.
and then when you're sort of looking individually at your Hassani, your Jenkins Davis, your Hayfield, I'm not going to put Oscar Threcold in there because I really don't think he's got another season. But they don't fit, do they? But when you look individually, you look at Jenkins Davis, he's had some great games. Hayfield's had some really solid, sort of get stuck in sort of games. And so, but again, we're going to have to be brutal, aren't we? Because we want a working, functioning midfield. And at the moment, we haven't got it. So what do we do?
Rachel, you summed that up perfectly. You summed that up perfectly. As individuals, I look at all those players and I really like them. But for whatever reason, it hasn't quite worked, whether that's down to individuals, whether it's whatever. And that's why we need to look at it. Go on, Dom.
He had that spell where he scored a few goals, didn't he? And then
8, wasn't it? In 10 games or something.
He's got 6 in total.
And then he hasn't scored in about...
Yeah. They all came in this sort of couple of months. I was thinking, right, he could be pushing for, the Player of the Year awards, and then he sort of disappeared off. And I haven't really remembered what he'd done since. It's not really been notable. So
I think what upset me a bit at times, I've seen times, especially on Saturday, when players are a bit afraid of being the hero or the villain, like as in taking that shot from 25 yards. And I don't want that next year. I want players who will shoot from everywhere. Look at, the best teams, their goals come from everywhere, and I think that's what we kind of want from the central midfield next year, to sort of be like, no, I am. And I get some of it might be a bit down to, it might be seen as their role is to move the ball forwards and kind of transition it. But I just really want to see arrogance and personality in that central midfield.
But he tries to make things happen, doesn't he? And that's why I've gone green. I really rate him. And I think maybe National League maybe is a little bit of a step too far at the moment. But I think being in the National League South for another season, I think I'd want Will Jenkins-Davis in this squad if the option was there. So
he's one of those typical players. He's not really a midfielder, is he? He's not really a winger. He sits somewhere in between. Where's his best position, isn't it? I think for him.
Always takes that touch too many for me. But again, that comes down to, and this is something I've noticed again, we lack movement, don't we?
Yeah, that's what I need to see, movement next year.
And I think maybe this is why some of our midfielders have perhaps, struggled a little bit, is because the lack of movement in front of them. So, and I think Jenkins Davis has suffered because of that.
I agree.
Definitely Hassani. So therein lies, we're going to have to get something to play alongside Cook, something with pace.
I agree. Right, going through it. Jacob Wellington, it's hard for us to judge when we haven't seen him. We're always going to push for someone who is a youth player at the end of the day. One of our own. But it's quite hard to know. If you look at maybe his loans and all stuff like that, it's hard for us to know, really. Any opinions to add on that?
Well, he's really doing well at Brixham, isn't he?
He was really good. He'd have played a bit by now, I guess. When how old is he? 19?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to know. Yeah. How much longer can you go there? Like that kind of Olaf thing, isn't it? Like Olaf had the potential.
Sometimes it's better to let them have that football career in a pyramid.
That's why I go red. I think go elsewhere. Go to a level where it's maybe a couple rings down and prove yourself. And who knows? Maybe in the future.
Chris has got to go, so it's down to 6 of us now. Right, couple more, and then we're near the end. Jordan Thomas, if that comes available, would you go for him next season? I'm going for green. Richard's gone for red. It's a mix. There is a mix. Clive, yellow. Right, I'm going for green because I do really like him. I'd keep Finley Crass and Thomas next season, both as right backs.
Any player with an ounce of pace, Thomas struggles.
That is a good point,
and I thought he was a pacey attacking fullback.
Yeah, he did struggle at the weekends.
It's not the first, and I thought we were bringing in a player that had attacking potential, and I've not really seen it. And his shooting's not all that either. He's missed some great opportunities. I've just not been very impressed with him. I'm so sorry, Jordan.
And it could be not maybe I'm a bit mind, but if there's like a really good right back out there who's like the best right back in the league, you would go for it. I still would be happy if I saw Thomas next year.
Yeah,
Jolly.
I've liked him. I think when he
Yeah.
came in, I thought he was an instant improvement on Krask. I think he was really good away at the Truro game. Thought he was excellent.
That's true. Yeah, done some big games.
Yeah, I think he's shown enough for me to keep him.
I
Yep,
think
I agree.
there's such an element of inconsistency, and we are in the south. And I think with a lot of this, I always bring it up. I go back to a Leicester example. You know, the Leicester team that lost with the Deeney goal. Well, that team had one free transfer that season, mainly because we were about to break FFP. But and it was an experienced defender, and that same team then won the championship by a mile. And a lot of that then won the Premier League. And I think if you've got the right group, not so much like Al Johnson did it when he sort of made an unbalanced squad and you get big deals and all stuff like that. But if it's right, you keep continuity with a lot of his squad, improve that centre midfield, sort of not even improve, but change it, add a bit of pace, and I think this team can do more than enough. And I think Thomas, players like that, I'd happily see next season. Clive?
For me, I think you would want to keep one of Thomas and Krask and sign another right back. I would like to see, on balance, I'd probably just about go for Thomas of the two of them.
No, I think that's a fair point, actually. Yeah, especially if
Thomas
like
gets forward a bit quicker, doesn't he? I think he will get forward and attack pretty quick.
He just doesn't do enough when he gets forward.
He can't shoot from 2 yards out, but he will try and get there.
I'm with you, Rachel. I'm with you on this one. I like him. I really do like him, and I think he is good at this level, but I just haven't seen enough in the games that I've seen from him.
Fair enough. We've got two more. Thanks for sticking with us. We've got.
Well, we haven't got a squad of 40. Yeah,
we've got two. Yeah, we've got two that are under contract. Basically, Matt J.
Thank God this isn't Chelsea.
Yeah, I was going to say we've got Matt J, who, let's be honest, he's come in with no pre-season. He's not played football at Colchester. Well, he has played at Colchester, but not played football. He's done brilliantly. We do need to sort out where he is going to play next season. I think he can definitely do a job from left wing. But my big complaint in the weekend was he was drifting central when we needed players to move the ball left and right. So whether it's a 4-2-3-1 with Jay playing off Cook next year, or 4-4-2 and Jay up front, I think there's more to come from him. But
he's taken too many touches at the weekend, hasn't he?
I do think it complicates it because he's used to playing a higher standard at times.
Needed to zip it to teammates.
Give him summer, give him a proper pre-season. He's a key player for us next season.
Oh, yeah, unbelievable next year. Yeah.
Rachel, you and Amber.
He had a run of 4 in 4 games, then he scored the goal of the season at Chelmsford.
Yeah, he's got class.
Yeah, he's classy player.
I thought goal of the season was Truro, but yeah, I forgot about Chelmsford. I've wiped that from my memory.
Yeah.
Rachel?
So good. Rachel, any thoughts?
He had a little purple patch, didn't he? And everybody was saying, "Oh, here we go. This is why we've signed him." But I didn't think he was particularly. I don't know. He frustrates me. That's the thing. But that's the beauty of Amber, isn't it? It's shall we not? But and you can't really judge him on his anonymity at Boreham Wood because no, I'm sorry, he was so anonymous. His touch was poor.
Yeah, it was.
And
from a key player, expected better.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's no doubt he's a good player and that. But I don't know. Am I being greedy? Am I just thinking? So it's Amber that's potentially keep him, but he frustrates me.
I wanted to see him close to the Cook. He was nowhere near.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I totally agree. Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see him just getting in the final third more, being more of a striker.
He wants to be Jordan Young.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry,
more central.
That's got to be a coaching. I'm sure that it isn't a coaching thing. I think it's just on match day. Matt J wants to play what Matt J wants to play like, and don't be a prima donna. You just sort of be this supporting role to the forward to Cody Cook. Don't get in Young's way, and I just think that they're sort of like. They're not even that particularly similar players, but they
do like to float, don't they?
I just think sometimes we need to move the ball past and move a bit more quicker with that intensity. I do agree.
And both are culprits of that, keeping hold of the ball for too long. Come on. But then and I'm sounding like
I want
a
to see them
stuck
get
here,
behind
but
ball as well.
it's the lack of movement in front of them. This is why
Yeah.
a lot of the time they do linger on the ball. This is why Omar Musa is sort of a breath of fresh air, because he doesn't necessarily linger on the ball when he's got vision, hasn't he? Who will
He
sort
gets
of
caught in
ping a
possession
forward
more
ball.
times than
Give it
anybody
away.
else.
Yeah.
But he still attempts to ping the ball forward and look for those sort of incisive passes. Whereas Matt J, it sort of like reminds me of Matty Cash at Villa. I know he's a fullback, but he'll get so far, stop, and then go sort of sideways. And, you know,
There's stuff to be worked on. I do understand. I do
First way
understand.
to open up teams is quick passing, isn't it? You don't need to take
be
20.
quicker. Yeah, that's it.
I do agree.
And
Go.
Like I said, give him a proper pre-season, and I reckon he'll shine next season. I really believe that.
Shine
He's
to
such a key player.
not so much shine, but shine to the Matt J that he was at, and he's shown glimpses of it. But I just think quick on the ball at times.
Actually, I'm going to say two things, if it's all right. One, he's a good leader. He digs people out. He's started to do that more. That is invaluable. That is a massive deficiency in this squad at the moment.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, maybe the reason he doesn't pass it quickly is nobody's making sensible runs because he's played at a good level, hasn't he?
Movement. Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree. I think that's what it comes down to. I think sometimes, and before we go on to the last player, I think the squad usually shows where we're at, and the club is in a really good place. It's a really nice, friendly atmosphere. But what you've touched on there, Clive, I think we need to be a little bit more brutal, a bit more out on the pitch, just just kind of a little bit more kind of digging ourselves out, demanding even more. I'm sure they do. Does that make sense? Just a little bit too nice at times we've been. Just have that player. I'm not saying a player comes in and gets 10 red cards, but we just need to be a bit more brutal, a bit more pass move. And when we go 1-0 up, like when we were chasing goals, right, we're going to go and get another one next year. Kill games off, kill teams off quicker, more convincingly, and really sort of make teams fear us more. Does that make sense? I think that's what just a little
more
bit
aggression in our play.
As Westcott's articles, a bit more aggression next year. As Westcott's article said, we've done really well in that, but now it's time to go for it. Like, leave nothing next year. Leaving it to Dylan Morgan, it's a bit of a difficult one because he arrived with a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, got quite a nasty injury, which is a big shame, and hopefully he can cover properly for next season. He's under contract anyway, and it's a green. I can see his ability, but next year it's about delivering a bit more. Like, hopefully he can match what almost or get close to what Young has done on that right side.
I think he's going to be like a new signing, isn't he?
He'll be like a new signing. We missed him. This player of the ability is going to be. You can see the ability, but sometimes there's a bit too much of a thing to chill, pass and move, not try and do like the heroic thing. I think at times, and it all comes down to passing and movement off the ball. But I think sometimes just need to work on that attacking movement a bit next year. Because
like we overloaded on similar players in that regard. I think you had Jenkins Davis come in, you already got Hassan. It all seemed a bit similar, didn't they?
Yeah,
to get the ball to feet. And
it's a shame we couldn't get that Pearson, isn't it? He looked a really good player, I thought.
Yeah. I thought he's a player that's a player we need, and we will hopefully look out for something like that.
We're missing out one squad. There's one we're missing out that potentially could have Tom Lapsley.
Oh, Tom.
There's emotions and head and heart on this one. I love Tom Laps as a bloke. I loved him as a player in his time, but I think it's time to nice one, Rachel. I think it's time. I don't think so.
That was my amber.
I think you need. I think you need a lot of games and come off that injury and all stuff like that. I just think we want to look in a new direction, kind of from that.
A combative midfielder that is so combative that he always gets injured.
Yeah, it's a shame. But like Jack Wilshere was.
His style of football, I remember once sort of saying that he was like the non-league McGinn, but with more injuries, and that's the real sad thing about it, because he's a great player, isn't he, Tom Lapsley?
Great bloke as well. Yeah.
He'd play he played 2 games, and he'd be out for 6 games.
Yeah.
So, and with an ACL. That's a hell of an injury to get.
There's nothing wrong with style. There's nothing wrong with his style, Rachel. It's just he didn't have the body to sort of back it up, did he?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Like a little hamster running on a wheel, wasn't he?
It's like a rusted armour, isn't it?
And one thing I will say, actually, even though we've been a bit harsh to some of our midfielders, there wasn't a lack of availability really this year, was there?
Yeah,
That's one
Hayfield
thing we
played
have to bear in mind. Yeah, Hayfield was
49,
always there.
49
Yeah.
games.
I
If you're
think-
trading out that, you've got to make
Yeah.
sure whoever you're bringing in can do almost the
Yeah.
same.
He's
Yeah.
one that needs to go maybe again to a Tiverton, at that level, prove himself, and
Prove himself,
then
and
maybe
then,
see
yeah,
later.
yeah.
But I think it's just too much of a risk. I'm sure he's a lovely
He'll
bloke
be
to have
given a
around the club and
chance,
in
I
the dressing
think.
room.
You know what?
He's been kept around all season, hasn't he? Let's be honest. I think Paul Warren will definitely be talking to him. There'll definitely be
Do you know what I think about that? In 1995-96, we finished bottom of the league by an absolute distance. Eddie May's team, we were awful, and we only stayed up because Stevenage's ground wasn't up to scratch. And our star player that year was Charlie Oatway. Now, Charlie Oatway was a very, very similar player to Lapsley. Short, just went around kicking people and ran for 90 minutes. Torquay fans loved him. I thought that he was just a headless chicken. Some people used to call him Charlie Headless. He went on to play in the Championship, right? He went on to Brighton as they got promoted up through the leagues. He was an integral part of that, and he had a fantastic career. So I was completely wrong about Charlie Oatway. I think there's parallels between him and Tom Lapsley. Tom Lapsley's never played in a successful Torquay United team. That's not his fault. But he arrived in 2021, and it's, we've been going downhill faster than the old boy on a greased tea tray, haven't we, since then? So I just wouldn't go there. And I know he's a lovely fella because everybody who I know who has spoken to him has told the same story. Paul Watton loves him as well, and I wish him every good luck in the world. But I just don't think we should do it.
Very nice.
Wasn't Charlie Oatway called after the entire QPR team?
He was. He had 11 Christian names. That's right. Yeah.
There you go. You see.
Yeah.
But we've gone quite against the grain here because we did a poll, didn't we, about the Lapsley? And I think it was 70%, 69%.
It's popular, isn't it?
We'll lose subscribers on this. We'll be poisoned.
He always played with
just got
twinkle in his
some
eye, doesn't he? He was a popular player, wasn't he? No doubt about
that. Yeah, I understand. But you've got to be brutal with football, right? Before we move on to our final bits, anything you want to read out, Kelly? Even though we have sort of exhausted it. Well, we're going to move on to our final kind of memories, and we can also end on a happy sort of bit as we grilled this season.
I'll quickly go through the comments we had on Kelly's Corner, shall we? Real quick.
Go for it.
There's quite a few. So, same premise. So, apologies if I rush through it a little bit. But Dave Morris says, out of all, the only one he wouldn't have for definite is Brad Ash. As for the others, he'd keep unless there is an upgrade. Freckeld, Hassani, not strong enough or impactful enough. He would take Tom Lapsley back, and also Zanzala. I thought he flattered to deceive, and we'd need more pace up front, and probably didn't have the budget to keep him. Hopefully, we can get Thomas and Will Jenkins-Davis on our books next season. Stephen Badcott says players vital to keep: Dreyer, Dyer, Falston, Jay, Cook, and Young. Happy enough to keep or not devastated if they left: Hammond, Thomas, Hayfield, Hassani, Musa, Zanzala, Palmer, Freckeld, Krask, Morgan, Will Jenkins-Davis. Thinks the majority of them will stay. Players he wants to keep but send out on loan: Carson, Crosby, Wanacott, and to retire Moxie. Players not to see in a Torquay shirt again would be Ash and Seymour. Craig Hughes thinks the core of the squad will stay together, need some quality additions, a mould of Matt J, Jordan Young, and Sam Dreyer levels. Hard to say who will leave, as ultimately it's up to Watton and the staff. Think there'll be a few surprises over the summer. Freckeld wouldn't be a miss, as I think he's been poor a lot of the season. Musa wouldn't care if he was to leave. Massively overrated, and you're lucky to get one good game out of 7 of him. Moxie potentially to hang up his boots, and Ash and Seymour most likely to be moved on. And then just quickly the ones on Twitter. So there's D Trust who says, think there are 5 or 6 quality players short. For him, there's not enough competition for key positions. Would like to get rid of Musa and Moxie, but keep Moxie as a coach. Ash, Will Jenkins-Davis, maybe a couple others. Need an experienced midfielder, striker, and a wide player or 2. Alan, his greens are Hammond, Wanacott, Dyer, Dreyer, Falston, Palmer, Carson, Hayfield, Musa, Morgan, Young, Jay, Cook, and Crosby. Yellow, Krask, Hassani, and Freckeld. Red, Moxie, Sanzala, Ash, Seymour, and Wellington. Lee Cloak says keep Hammond, Falston, Dreyer, Dyer, Palmer, Hayfield, Hassani, Jay, Young, Cook and Crosby. Undecided on Musa, Krask and Wellington, and would leave Moxie, Freckeld, Carson, Thomas, Morgan, Zanzala, Ash and Seymour. Maybe Thomas and Will Jenkins-Davies for pre-season. Matt says he would keep the majority of the squad, get rid of those who have been away all season, such as Seymour and Wanacott. Give Crosby another pre-season, but he didn't do a lot for Gloucester by the sounds of it, although he has been injured for a lot of that, wasn't he, this season? Ollie Ray says keep Dyer, Dreyer, Hammy, Hayfield, Hassani, Cook, Young, Jay, Carson, Falston, Palmer, and Dean. Undecided, Will Jenkins-Davies, Musa, Krask, Thomas, Crosby, and no, Freckeld, Musa, Wanacott, Ash, and Seymour. Max Cochran says, there isn't anyone who I wouldn't want to stay, but if we want to progress, we'll have to. Keeping most of the spine of the team, backline, and Young is the most important thing for him. Paul Mahern says his keeps are Hammond, Dyer, Dreyer, Falston, Palmer, Krask, Hayfield, Young, Jay, and Cook. His ambers are Will Jenkins-Davies, Hassani, Musa, Carson, Morgan, and reds are Thomas, Zanzala, Ash, Seymour, Freckeld, Moxie, and Crosby. Decisions made considering ability, money, and player wishes. Tony Carroll, his keeps are Dreyer, Dyer, Hammond, Falston, Krask, Young, Jay, Cook, Hassani, Carson. Ambers, Hayfield, Palmer, Musa, Crosby, Wanacott, Morgan, and red is Freckeld, Will Jenkins-Davies, Thomas, Ash, Seymour, Moxie, and Zanzala. And TUFC team Tim says think Freckeld will end up back at Morecambe. Can see Seymour, Wanacott, Crosby, and Carson, Musa, Hassani all going. Ash, Hayfield not sure about. Is Will Jenkins-Davies going to be here, as it seemed to be on the bench a lot of the time this season? And he would recommend a signing of Jordan Ibe, skillful and pacey. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, it was a little bit rushed, but got through a lot of this traffic lights. So thank you.
Well done, Kelly. Well done for everyone who's written in this season.
Everything. How nice is it we get to talk about these problems compared to last season where we wanted the majority of them out?
And that takes us to the next part, the good memories bit. It's been a bit of a hard, brutal end of season review. We're going to talk about it. We're just going to throw a load of good memories. Could do one each or whatever like that. I'm going to start with the first one, which is probably a lot of us favourite. The first game against Anfield. What a lovely occasion that was. Obviously, come back to win. The most Torquay start. Go 1-0 down within four minutes, was it? But just to see play more, a view that we've now got used to, but so full community. See the Brink Consortium. Two lovely well-worked goals we scored as well. Beautiful, wasn't it? Right, Kelly, give me some of your one or two of your favourite memories.
Oh, I quite enjoyed being on the pier with Clive for Worthing away, and then a candlelit liquid dinner a bit later in that bar we went into. But it's just, it's hard to pinpoint because there's been so many good memories this season. Just to have our football club back after what we've been through as a fan base. It's disappointing the way it's ended, but I think Hemel Hempstead, that last game where there were 2,000 of us and just the atmosphere that day, and that was everything that was good about Torquay United Football Club, and the potential, again, I keep saying it, but the potential this club's got is massive. And yeah, we've fallen short this season, but I'm optimistic for the future, and there's just going to be so many more good memories where, we're going to follow this team home away as we have in numbers next season. And, I honestly feel we're going to have a good season next season.
Yeah, no, I do believe too.
Let's not forget, we only exited we only paid off all the tax credits a couple of weeks ago, or the tax creditors a couple of weeks ago. So we are now going into a summer, as a stable football club. So I look forward to it. But yeah, Hemel away and Worthing with Clive was quite up there.
Perfect. Clive, I know your main memory would be sat with me after talking away in the train station whilst I was eating carrots, and you were about 10 pints in. That was an incredible day. What was your favourite memories?
Oh, you've done me, because Dorking was a fantastic day out, wasn't it? It was marvellous. And, we were absolutely rammed in there. There were 700 Torquay fans on two sides of the ground. The atmosphere on the ground was absolutely magnificent. The atmosphere on the way out was even better. We had drummers, we had YouTubers. It was fantastic, wasn't it? And obviously a thumping header from a set piece to shut Mark White up for 15 seconds. That was wonderful.
It was a foul though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Thank you for your kind words, Tom. We had a great day, didn't we, at Worthing? That was a lot of fun. We ended up in the bar with half the Brink Consortium and the management afterwards as well. It was lovely. It's actually been those sorts of conversations and those sort of interactions that you just couldn't have dreamt of 12, 15 months ago. You know, we've got people throughout the club who wish it well, and long may it continue.
Brilliant. Johnny, some more to add to that?
Yeah, for me, I think I've been lucky to do all the away games this season, so it's just been fantastic. Every game sort of just felt like we've got the club back. And I think it's hard to pick a favorite moment. I think Truro away was
Glad something like that.
fantastic.
Yeah.
In the moment,
But
wasn't it?
probably like I'd say sort of towards the start of the season, actually at Bath, sort of a lovely late summer's evening, and the Bryn Consortium were on the terrace, and there was some moon, nice sort of like blue moon thing,
Yeah.
which was very nice, and we won. Yeah, so that was
Ed
fantastic.
Palmer, beautiful like that.
Yeah,
Rachel,
yeah.
anything to add?
I'm going to go the Eastbourne game at home. I joined some friends in the Wallens End for the community day, the afternoon. So I swapped my Bristow's perch for the Wallens End, and you know, Eastbourne looked a very, very, very good team. So you know, it was one of those that I was thinking, oh, God, we're gonna struggle here. And we were mixing with some of the Eastbourne supporters at halftime. Really nice bunch of people. It was a good laugh. You know, saw some friends. Good spirited sort of with the away supporters. And then the Drea Lake goal, and of course the Moose got that breakaway goal, didn't he? But it was a good day because, as I say, I was hanging out with friends and that. Truro away was immense. You know, in the old days, I used to manage a fair few away games, but not so much recently. So to be allowed out on good behaviour and get down to Truro, it was such a good atmosphere, and it almost like we peaked a little bit, didn't we, that day? Because I think we all actually thought we're going to do this, aren't we? But you know, no matter, fantastic day, and also a second away game at Hemel Hempstead, a long old trip. But yeah, baking hot afternoon, and for just one moment, there was that point where St Albans got the second goal, and we were jumping up and down. But then it was short-lived, but it didn't matter because I do kind of wish now that we'd saved a couple of those goals. Anyway, it's all in the past. It's what's done is done. But yeah, again, I'm just going to repeat it. I think we're ahead of schedule. That's my mantra. We were ahead of schedule this season. Next season, with canny recruitment, and let's face it, we haven't done too badly. You know, in a short space of time, we recruited well.
Fantastic
it is true.
Recruitment.
It has been very good recruitment, and I think if we can go even better in recruitment, depending on the budget, but even with a small budget, you know, you can be canny in the market, can't you? So, yeah, I'm moving forward now. The disappointment's dissipated.
I agree. Finally, saved you to last. The owner, the creator of Talkie Talk, Don, our leader. Some final moments and words for this season.
Yeah, I don't know about moments, but just overall that feeling of what the Bryn Consortium brought to the club. The heart, the personality, the sense of humour, right from those videos when we introduced new players.
The shirts.
Yeah, well, there's always shirts, isn't there, Rachel? But no, they've been great. And what they brought and where they've been around the club. We've spoke to Michael and the other guys around the club, and that passion they have for everything Torquay United is just such a highlight from the whole year, I think, for me. And the big crowds come in to play more, and the atmosphere, the positivity, you know, the joy, the smiles of seeing people around the club not looking glum anymore, thinking, you know, we've got a future, we've got something to be proud of. It's all that for me. You know, it's difficult to pick out certain moments, but but that's all been great, and that overrides the disappointment of last weekend's result, because I think we'll get there. Our future looks bright to me. So yeah, that's it.
I agree. Lovely. Well put, Dom. And I think, is there anything else everyone wants to add before I wrap up the end of the season review?
Don't give up hope, because we've fallen short this year, Yellow Army.
So
We've
far
got to
the
go into
journey.
this summer. We've got to be positive. We've got to be. Look, you can have your say about whether the excuse of where we were 12 months ago washes water now. But personally, again, as I've said previously, I think we've got a lot that we can be proud of this summer for the whole football club in general. And I'll say it again. I'll look into the camera and say it to the Brink Consortium. Thank you so much for saving our football club, for allowing us, to have moments like this. I said it to Michael Westcott after the Boreham Wood game, actually, when I had a quick chat. We've earned this right to feel disappointed again, because 12 months ago we didn't know if we were going to have a football club to support, really. Of course, next year the ambitions are, they are going to be a bit higher. But we've got this, we've got the full backing of the club, and we'll carry on doing these week in, week out when the season starts again. And again, just keep the faith, Yellow Army. We are going to get there. Football, it's never been easy with us, with our club, has it? It's always been tricky. So let's just keep doing what we're doing, back the club, and we'll see you in the summer, and up the Yellow Army.
That's lovely, Tom. And I'd like to add, both for myself and Talkie Talk, it's been incredible, really. Totally different from our point of view to review last season compared to season before, hasn't it? From my point of view, I totally shadow what Tom said. I'd like to thank everyone who has watched Talkie Talk. Obviously, my last 12 months have been a bit crazy. As much as I've loved it, I've absolutely loved being part of the community. All the away days with you lot and everyone and all these people we've spoken to. It has been amazing. I'm really, really going to miss it until August. But on the other side of it, gives us a nice chance for a break. Obviously, we all put a lot of hours into these sort of things, and Dom on the sort of website and moving with all this. And I just like to say such a big thank you to everyone who's watched Talkie Talk. A big thank you to Joe and everyone who got me involved personally in the documentary and taking flight. That was mental. I had my 5 minutes of fame, so to speak. It's all been downhill since. I've just got addicted more to Football Manager, just cope with it. No, it's been amazing. I've absolutely loved it, and all the opportunities on BBC as well. So I'd like to say, from all of us at Talkie Talk and the Goals Eye View team and everyone that contributes, a big thank you for this season. We'll be here in the summer. Hopefully, we'll plan a few summer specials again. We're going to have a bit of a well-earned break until next season, and then we'll be back for season 5 of Goals Eye View. But this has been season 4 of Goals Eye View, and it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you soon. I stumbled the last word.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays on side, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells.